Hello and welcome to Miles Ahead with me, Miles.
And me, Bradley.
Thanks for joining us for another episode. Today we're diving into the recent Netflix hit Seven Dials and our overview of the hit Netflix show Stranger Things.
Before we jump into our main segments, Miles, what have you been watching recently?
So lately I've been watching the Fallout series on Amazon Prime. I haven't seen the latest episode, which is episode 7 at the time of recording. And I believe there's one episode left of that series, released weekly. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think this series, I think, as strong, but I think this series it doesn't heavily rely, but it sort of depends a little bit on your knowledge of a certain game. It's sort of meant to be a secret successor to, which is Fallout New Vegas. But yeah, I can't say I haven't enjoyed it. It's been pretty good. I think it did start off quite slow. But yeah, it's definitely gotten better as it's gone along. What about you, Brads? What have you been watching?
So the new series of The Apprentice came out this week, so
Okay.
I've been stucking my teeth into that. Have you watched it?
Yeah, I think I saw the first episode.
It was an interesting episode. It's quite a unique one to start off with, obviously the 20th year that they've done it.
Yes.
So yeah, they went to Hong Kong, and they had to do the old favourite task of finding different items around Hong Kong. And I don't think I've ever seen a group do this badly on that task, because they basically did not find any of the items. And
No, they didn't, did they? No, they were quite bad.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how long they last.
But let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
So, Mars, let's talk about Seven Dials. What do you think of it?
Overall, I think it was decent. I don't think it's anything out the ordinary or groundbreaking. It was sort of a bog standard mystery. I think concluded. I mean, I kind of saw what was going to happen near the end, but yeah, I think overall it's decent. I think it could have done with maybe another episode to sort of piece it out a bit better, but yeah. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the production design of it was actually quite good. It was set in the 1920s or in and around. I mean, I have to say, during the first episode, when they had that party, it felt more like the 1930s rather than the 20s to me.
Okay.
It just had a different sort of vibe than I would associate with the 1920s. I feel like this is very different for Chris Chibnall to do, because obviously I think he's sort of used to he is used to detective dramas and that sort of stuff, but this is sort of adapting someone else's work. I'm not sure if he's done anything like this before.
Yeah, so I guess a quick overview of the cast and the crew. As you said, was written. I think all 3 episodes were written by Chris Chibnall. Yeah. I think this is probably his first major project since leaving Doctor Who. I might be wrong.
Might be, yeah.
But yeah, cast. I think the lead was Mia McKenna-Bruce, who's I think a fairly new up and comer in terms of British acting society landscape. It also stars Helena Bonham Carter and Martin Freeman. So quite fairly known names, a mix of
Yeah.
up and coming talent and I guess veterans at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I
That
think
sounds
the
quite rude.
I think the casting was quite good. I think it was nice choices. I just felt that the writing maybe could have been a bit better.
I think the writing was. I think the writing overall was fairly strong. I couldn't see there's any like. I think the characters were adapted well,
Oh yeah.
but I think, and obviously I haven't read the novel it's based on, so I think maybe the story was probably not the best.
No.
I think it was very. It sort of ended a little bit underwhelming as you could see what was probably going to happen before it actually did happen.
I mean, it was good, and I do recommend it to people because obviously if you like Agatha Christie, then you'll probably like this. And it's not bad, it's not terrible. There are a lot of good things about it. I just felt that it started, particularly the first episode. It's 3 episodes long. The first episode was really slow, I felt like, because you didn't really get the first sort of block that leads to other blocks, if that makes sense. Until like the start of the second episode. And then I felt like the second episode there was just too much going on, and it was just it just had too much to do and to set up, and then the ending just felt rushed to me.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll say it's rushed, but we'll get back to that. I think let's talk quickly about the cast, I guess, mainly the main characters, who, of course, as we mentioned before, Mia McKenna Bruce was the lead, playing Bundle, real name Irene. And, I think she did actually probably one of the best performances in the show.
Yeah, her performance was quite strong, I felt like. It's like she definitely understood the source material that she was working with. Was able to sort of make the writing sort of lift up the page, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Make it a bit more exciting than maybe it was.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything major she's done since, but I know she's sort of an up and coming actress at the moment. But yeah, I think she did very well.
Yeah.
And we've also got, as we mentioned, Helena Bonham Carter as Bundle's mum. Lady Brent.
Yeah. Again, I actually thought this was a good choice. I mean, she's always good in anything that she does.
Yeah,
she has quite a good range of different things. I don't know. I don't know if she felt underutilized.
Or she's not in it much. No, I do agree.
And then the storyline. I don't know how much they cut from the book, but the storyline of it sort of. I mean, it didn't make sense in that way that it happens.
I don't know about that, because I think they sort of hinted it quite well, because her character's she starts off, I guess, for most of the series, to be fair, as quite reclusive. She doesn't really like to interact with people that much. That's why, like, at the start of the party, which is taken in their house, she doesn't want to be there. She doesn't really want to say hello to anybody.
Yeah, maybe.
But obviously, not to spoil it for anyone, but obviously that does delve into her character, the reveal a bit.
Yeah, maybe it's just her character didn't feel as fully fleshed out as some of the others.
Yeah, I definitely agree. She wasn't really in it compared to most of the characters very much. She's probably all 3 episodes. She's probably there for maybe a total of maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
maybe a bit longer, not long, to be fair. And what, 3 just under an hour episodes? So, there's not a lot of screen time.
No.
But I think for every scene she did, she was,
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter's a good actress. I think she did well. But yes, I definitely agree. She might have been underutilized a bit because she wasn't really in it a lot.
Yeah. And then Martin Freeman was this detective.
Yes, Superintendent Battle. Interesting surname.
Yeah.
Then again, Bundle's an interesting name, but that was a nickname. So who knows what they were thinking in the 1920s.
I mean, this is a slightly different character, I think, to what he normally does. I mean, I know he's in a police detective drama in a minute, so maybe there's some similarities there, but I don't know. I mean, his story arc, I don't know. I find it a bit weird. Maybe the book does it better than what we got. Again, I don't know how much they cut from the book, but again, I just felt like, I mean, he was in it quite a lot. I just felt like his character wasn't utilized or fully fleshed out.
Well, I think his character is sort of meant to be like the typical, I'm a policeman, do the rules while the amateur sleuth does the heavy lifting kind of thing. That's obviously his role in general. But obviously then, not to spoil anything, that does come into play a bit later as well. But yeah, I mean, again, I think he did well. Yeah. Was he underutilized? I don't think so. I think he did what his character was meant to do. Whether that's completely different compared to the book it's based on, I don't know. But for
it's
the
not
most
necessarily
part,
underutilized. I just think maybe his character wasn't fully fleshed out properly.
I think the problem is, as I mentioned, we needed probably another episode to pace it out a little better.
Yeah.
Because I think obviously Chibnall tried to do like a sort of Sherlock type thing where it's like 3 episodes, but those are sort of based on individual books, or maybe sometimes they made them up. I think that definitely happened in the last series released. But yeah, I mean, obviously splitting up a book into certain episodes can be quite difficult because you need to know what bits are important to adapt and what bits can be left out. And I think obviously 3 episodes for this was probably too much.
Bit too little.
But at the same time, it does sort of at the end, it leaves like ends on a sort of cliffhanger where it can. I don't know if this book got any sequels like the Poirot series or anything like that. So I don't know if there's other like mysteries or they're going to make stuff up. Because I know Chris Chibnall hinted he wanted to do like a film or a continuation, and it definitely ended like that, or it sort of ended like it could go on. Whether it will, I think it depends how popular it is. We'll probably find out if it gets renewed in the next couple months. But yeah, I think it just overall needed an extra episode to pace it out because I think there was too much in definitely the last 2, but I think definitely in the middle it was a bit too much to juggle.
Before we move on to Strange Thing, it's time for some trivia.
Oh, trivia. Doing that again.
So, our question is, what was the first feature film to be fully computer animated? What was the first
What do you mean?
What
do you mean fully computer animated? As in like CGI animated film, or like green screen?
Right, let's dive into the big one. Strange Things Season 5. Been a long time coming, Mars.
Yeah, it has. I think it's been 10 years. Well, yeah, I think 10 years overall for 5 series.
Lots of gaps.
Yes, a lot of gaps, and that has been a controversy, not just for Stranger Things, but for most streaming shows as well. Yeah, I think obviously this was sort of going into it was quite obviously a big event because it's the last series. It's Netflix's biggest hit since probably the peak of House of Cards.
Yeah.
And was it good or was it bad? What do you think, Brad?
I felt like everything was wrapped up in a nice way. Whether every single plot line, subplot, and plot within a plot was like wrapped up, I'm not sure. But yeah, it was good. There was some parts where I was a bit hesitant. But I think overall it was a nice wrap up. It's just a shame that there were such long gaps because it relies quite heavily on the previous seasons in some parts. And unless you remember every single bit or binge watched all of the seasons before you watch season 5, then you might not necessarily have picked up on it.
Yeah, I think, I agree. I think that's more, as we said before, the gaps. Because I think each series got a progressively bigger gap.
Yeah.
So I think series 2 had like maybe a year gap, or maybe it was out the next year. I can't remember. Then series 3 got like something like 3 years. And series 4 got an even longer gap, and then series 5 had it might have been a bit of a shorter gap, to be fair, but it felt longer than it was. And I think that's and I think that also did hinder it a bit because I think by the end, the lead kids are meant to be what, 18?
Yeah.
And they're in real life they're about 25, maybe a bit younger than that. So
yeah, 23, 25, yeah.
Yeah, because if you see from the series to the main 4 they look like in series 1 with the baby faces and all that, and then series 5 they're growing beards and everything. It's a bit it's a bit far-fetched in some areas.
It's a shame it has such long gaps. But yeah, I mean I don't think it took away from anything, though, to be honest. I think it was still good. It was just, the gaps weren't great.
Yeah, I think you could argue the gaps do help in some way because obviously every season that came out or dropped on Netflix was a big event. So for that week, maybe it was the biggest week for Netflix because Stranger Things series, whatever, just dropped. And yeah, I think, but obviously, as we said, it does hinder it as well because the ages and everything, it doesn't really line up very well. Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk about the season then. Let's dive in. So it starts. So season 4 finishes with a bit of a cliffhanger where sort of everything is sort of splitting and the upside down and sort of splitting all the streets and everything. And then you season 5 is sort of it's like a few months on or something.
It feels 6 months, maybe a year after.
Yeah, I mean it feels like they've obviously grown up, but obviously it's not the same. If tonally it feels different because they've obviously moved on. But that's also I think one of the issues I have where because they've moved on, it feels like you've missed something from the get-go. I don't know if it was just me, but
I don't know if they moved on in that sort of. Is that? I think it's definitely different because obviously, if you've seen there's the military has their own complex in the town. Yeah, I think most of the city's been evacuated.
Yeah,
very few stay.
Tonally, it felt different.
Yeah,
to
I can see that
to start with. And yeah, I just feel like some type of montage or something throughout the season maybe would have build
I don't
some
know
of the
if that would have
gaps.
worked. I think that would have ruined it.
I don't know.
I kind of see what you're saying, but at the same time, some things are better not to see.
No, but for me, it just felt like I'm missing something from the get-go. Because
Okay.
suddenly their HQ, in a sense, was this radio tower. Like, where does this radio tower, like, how did it come to be that they're occupying the radio tower?
Yeah, I can see, but at the same time, they did mention at the very beginning of the episode that because obviously, if you have Robin's the radio host since, as she said, the old one up and left. So obviously, that's sort of they taken that as a sort of their base of operations, because obviously radio waves and everything, because they track one of the Demogorgons. But could there be more? I don't think so. I think they explained what happened fairly well. They sort of. I don't think we need to see everything,
No.
and I think Stranger Things did a good, or at least season 5 did a good amount of that, in my opinion.
The main bulk of the episode is they're trying to sort of track down where Vecna is.
Yeah,
And they sort of build these sort of signal things to try and lure in the Demogorgons so they could enter the Upside Down from where obviously they appeared. Because obviously the only way to get into the Upside Down is through where all the military bases. As far as they know, so they're trying to use frequencies and radio waves to basically try and get in there.
yeah, I think that's sort of how, at least because when the series 5 came out, it was split into sort of 3 parts. But that's more or less how, say, maybe first part. That's sort of the basis of the first part.
Yeah.
And, it sets it up well until he comes out at the very end in episode 4. And, yeah, I think it does quite interesting in terms of Vecna Henry's story. I think it explains how he sort of got his powers.
Yeah.
A little bit into his past as well. And I think obviously there's the show at the moment, the first show, which explains a little bit more about his early life. And that's obviously referenced in the show as well, with a flashback hinting about the show that they put on in the actual show itself. And yeah, I think that was a good sort of nod, although it doesn't really, that's it. It doesn't really, there's no other plot points from the show that goes into the series, which I thought there might have been, to be fair, but obviously I think it did well without it. Would it have been better if they did? Probably not, because not everyone would have seen the show going in. So I think it was better they didn't. Maybe that scene was enough. And
I suppose it gives people the opportunity to go and actually see the show, either again or for the first time.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think obviously this series was based more on the Upside Down than I think others. Because I think the most that was in the Upside Down up till that point was series 4, where they all go into it to fight Vecna at the very end of the series 4. I think that was the most, because it's obviously, I think it's had bigger appearances as it's gone on.
Yeah.
But that was the most, because I think everyone went into it to fight. And obviously most of this series, or at least I say, they're probably about 40%. Yeah, about 40% maybe was based in the Upside Down. Yeah, I think in some ways, maybe because we already know quite a bit about it, they didn't really do too much. It was sort of because in the first few seasons, it was a very mysterious sort of place, and maybe as the things gone on, it's not really hasn't got that mystery to it.
No, you sort of learn sort of what the Upside Down is, and
Yeah, I think
what. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they do try and do that bit's interesting about it being a sort of gateway to another dimension, stuff like that. But I think overall, they didn't really try to do anything they haven't seen in the Upside Down that they haven't seen in the other seasons.
I mean, apart from the big thing about this wall, I don't think that big wall was in the other seasons, because suddenly there was this wall that was discovered, and basically I think it was in the middle of it was sort of the portal to, I can't remember what they called it. The abyss.
The abyss, I believe.
Yeah.
What I will give it is it's got a good each like sort of, I guess, dimension got a good color palette to it. So I think, you know, in the normal like arb dimension, I guess you could say it's sort of very neutral tone colors.
Yeah.
And in the Upside Down, it's sort of very dark, very darky blue, bits flashes of red because obviously the red lightning. And then the abyss, it's all quite like very musty yellow. And I think it definitely helps in terms of, you know, separates them out compared to the rest. But overall, I think the abyss could have been interesting, but I wasn't really there for much.
Yeah.
In my opinion, to actually make a difference.
I mean, you saw it in like the flashbacks, I guess, the parts where Will is connected to Vector's or Henry mind, and you kind of see parts of it, but you don't really get to see much of it. And I felt like they could have used it probably a bit more. But at the same time, I feel like they didn't need to, because it wasn't really that important. I mean, it was, but not really. Like,
yeah, I kind of see what you're saying. It was as important as the script wanted it to be at that point. And I definitely agree. I just felt, I get it. I get why he did it. It was that sort of the big end, the whole, twist that the Upside Down is not the above all place of evil is. It made sense. I just don't really feel that it was there to really make a difference, or to just. It was sort of there as a plot convenience, in my opinion.
I like how the series sort of included everyone in a way, because obviously, I mean, we've seen all of the Wheelers at one point or another, but they weren't really involved. And obviously at the start, forget their names, but Mike, Mom, and Dad basically get attacked by a Demogorgon.
Yeah, and they take Holly, the little sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think it made sense to do that. I think it's definitely because obviously Mike's parents are the ones we've seen the most throughout all 5 seasons.
Seen the most, but haven't really done much.
No, they're usually there for like, sort of, I guess, comedy relief sometimes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can be they can take it to very dark places and it's just a bit of comedy. But yeah, I definitely agree that it was a good way to end the first episode to get them, you know, like to have a Demogorgon show up and they eventually get to go into the action of it as well.
Yeah.
However, this does go on to my, I guess not mine, but it's a very controversial thing in the show. Even the actors themselves have admitted that every season sort of added a character and they never got rid of any. Do you understand what I'm saying? So season 2, you know, Max, played by Sadie Sink, was introduced. She was the mainstay until the very end. Season 3, I don't think anyone major was added, to my knowledge.
No.
Season 4.
Erica.
Oh yeah, that's true. Erica, who was in the Will's sister, who was in it, I think in a couple of episodes before, was a mainstay. Season 4, Eddie, played by the guy who played Human Torch. Yeah, that's it. Joseph Quinn in
Yeah, but he did die.
Four. And he did die. Like the only one to die in that, but major character. Series 5, they brought Caddy back from probably the worst episode of the show. Again, she did die. And also there was Vicky. Oh yeah, Robin was introduced in season 3 as well.
Yeah.
How can we forget that?
Rockin' Robin.
Yeah. And I think
they
never really got rid of anyone major. It's sort of, if they did, they'll be back later. Apart from Eddie, who's still dead. But I think there was too many characters to juggle in the end, in my opinion.
I do get that, and I felt like some of the characters were maybe sidestepped because obviously you don't really see or hear much from Erica from episode 5 onwards. As soon as they're basically all in the Upside Down, she's out of the picture, pretty much.
She's not entirely out of the picture. She's still there. She does play her part, but
no, she's
I get what you're saying. She wasn't really
with them.
It's sort of, they tried to delve a bit more into the main or the original characters more than the ones they added, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like Max, who was sort of in a coma for most of the series, obviously because of nearly being killed by Vecna in the previous. And obviously she was in a wheelchair mostly because she can't really use her legs and everything at the moment, or at that moment, I should say. And I guess it's sort of a neat way, apart from Robin, everyone in the first series was in the Upside Down.
Yeah.
And I think it was sort of a good way to do that. Like, they still had their roles, so they weren't completely sidelined, but it was a good way to sort of separate them all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if I necessarily agree with those maybe too many characters, because obviously a lot of them were, I mean, I'm going to use the word sideline, but they were sort of impaled in some way.
Impaled? What do you mean?
They were sort of sidelined because obviously Erica is sort of mainly used as a watch-out guard for when they're going into the military base, into the Upside Down. And I mean, even then, she's not really in it until episode 3 or 4.
She wasn't coming into it being halfway through the series or just before. And even then, she's not the biggest character.
So yeah, and then obviously you've got Max who's in a coma for most of it, but then when she's out of it, it does sort of make sense why she's still there, because they probably could have easily killed her off if we're being realistic.
They could have.
She could have come out of the coma, and then Vecna could have finished her off, type of thing. So yeah, they could have easily done that, but it does kind of make sense why she's not there. Obviously, she's in it. Obviously,
she's in it
through Vecna's
mind, which is a big bit of a character, because the idea is Vecna needs. Surprisingly, it's a very similar sort of plot points to Welcome to Derry, the It series, but in very different circumstances. Because obviously in Welcome to Derry, It actually wants to eat the kid. And in Stranger Things, he wants the kid, like these certain kids, which one of them includes Holly, Mike's sister, which is why she's such a big role in the series, to sort of merge the abyss and the normal world, sort of merge, and the Upside Down, merging them all into some, I guess, hellhole. It's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And that's what the main plot they need to stop.
I like the fact that they use different sort of genres in a way. Like spy espionage using Derek, who's also a new character.
Yes, Derek. How can we forget about dipshit Derek? Or delightful Derek, however you want to call him.
Yeah, I like how they used him to basically go into the military base when all the children were there, because all the military captured them, and then everything obviously went wrong, and then they were in the Upside Down because all the Demogorgons came after them, and now they're all in the mine. So I felt like the pacing as well was quite good. We got to that point sort of mid-series, and then that was obvious that was sort of the main point of the whole thing, to basically have more people like Vecna, more people like 11, to basically do more of what Vecna was doing, essentially. So I like the imagery of sort of having the different plot points sort of intertwine with each other, and having that sort of separation. Obviously, you had Hopper and 11 in the Upside Down for pretty much most of the series. You had Holly and Henry, and eventually Derek and the other kids sort of in Henry's mind, which I thought was quite good imagery, and also Max was there as well. And then obviously you had Nancy, Jonathan, Steve, and Dustin sort of eventually work their way into the Upside Down, and then you had that whole part about sort of them accidentally sort of finding out that there was something else where Vecna was. Vecna wasn't in the Upside Down. Yeah, I suppose that brings us nicely on to the sort of the end of Stranger Things.
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned, I think everyone sort of like ending wrapped up, or at least the main characters, they wrapped up quite well.
Yeah.
I think it did end the series quite well. I think I like the ending. I think they ended it. I think so. They had the whole bit of spoiler, but 11 possibly sacrificing herself to, make sure she's not hunted by the military boss, Dr. K, played by Linda Hamilton, who I personally felt was very underused.
Maybe
because she wasn't the main. I get why she might not be as used compared to like Vecna, but I don't know. I think as a human villain and quite, a bit of an important role to Eleven's story.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I felt like there was a story there,
and I feel there was like it wasn't really
fleshed out.
Considering it was Linda Hamilton, who is famous for like the Terminator and all that. You sort of, I think, you didn't really utilize her very well.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I what I particularly liked was the imagery of they sort of finished with the main sort of 3 Max, sort of where the show started, them playing D&D.
Yeah, so I did quite like the little cyclical narrative that starts with them playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons and it ends with that. With that.
And then obviously they're going on to.
And it's implied that it's the same campaign, but it's probably not. Before we do our proper thoughts on the ending, let's talk about, because I think this series more or less focused more on 2 characters than the rest, which was 11, obviously played by Millie Bobby Brown, and Will, played by Noah Schlatt. Is that how you pronounce his surname? And I think Will's probably the more interesting one in my opinion, because I feel Will's sort of been sidelined because series 1 is obviously more about trying to find him, so he's not in it as much, but he's very integral to that plot. And again, this series sort of explains a lot about why things in other series, as well as what happened to him in series 1 while he was in the Upside Down, happens. And I think it's definitely, they made him a much more interesting character, because I felt he was more sidelined after series 1. Like, he was there, but he didn't really serve much importance.
I would disagree with that, because obviously he was important to. I mean, he could tap into Vecna's mind.
Yeah, but that's only the last series. That wasn't necessarily.
No, that wasn't the last series. Because
Okay.
Vecna could tap into his mind, so he could see where he was.
I don't really agree with that at
Well,
all.
that's what happens.
Okay. And obviously, Eleven's been sort of, they've had a heavy focus on her throughout, because obviously she's part of Henry's story. She's sort of why Henry becomes what Vecna looks like. And obviously, explain a bit more about that. She's sort of the most pure-blooded version of Henry. And I think, yeah, they wrapped that bit quite well, because I guess there's no easy way to wrap that sort of story.
No.
Because I guess if anyone was interested, like military-wise, they would have been interested in utilizing that power. So I think the way they did it with her possibly faking her death, it's very implied at the very end of the series that she might still be out there. But don't know. We don't know.
Let's talk about your overall opinions of Stranger Things and season 5.
So overall, I think Stranger Things, it started off as like kind of a nice homage to sort of the 80s films like The Goonies or something like that. And yeah, I think each series added something, but I think quality-wise, it wasn't as good until maybe series 4. It started to get a bit more interesting again with the start of Vecna and who he was. And I think series 5, it wrapped, I think, yeah, probably not everything was wrapped up, but I think for the most part, it did sort of tie the series off quite well in a nice little bow.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was. I think overall season 5 and Stranger Things was good. Maybe some of the plot lines and storylines maybe could have been fleshed throughout the whole 5 seasons, because you sort of you learn stuff that probably could have been revealed in season 3, or season 4. So yeah, overall I think it was good, and you can definitely see the appeal and why it became so popular. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely, yeah, I mean, there were definitely some parts where some reveals could have been made earlier.
Yeah. And now, before we talk about possible what's next with Strange or the world with Stranger Things, let's go on to trivia.
Okay, so our trivia question is, what iconic 80s movie inspired the name of the town Hawkins?
Ooh, okay.
So now let's talk about the elephant in the room. How did Stranger Things become so popular, and where's it going to go next, do you think?
Well, I think how it becomes popular is it's sort of a combination of different factors. I think the timing was quite good when it was like dropped in 2016.
Yeah,
There's like nostalgia, as you mentioned it was a big wave, and I think that's just really, and obviously being set in the 80s and having a lot of like sort of references to the 80s, so a lot of like maybe older viewers are like, oh, I remember that, who were like maybe kids in the 80s or grew up in the 80s, like, oh, I remember that. And it's definitely a very good homage to the 80s. It's very like the music and everything is very 80s inspired.
it had a wide appeal because
Yeah,
people from different age sort of groups could really get into it. Because obviously there was bits for the older audience, younger audience. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there was that. Yeah, it dropped at the right time, and it sort of. I think it also ended at the right time as well.
yeah, I definitely agree. I think it also, it boosted the careers of the kids as well.
Mm.
So like 11, played by Millie Bobby Brown. You know, I think in the first years, I think she only speaks something like 11 words or something. It might not be 11. I might have made that up, but it's like she doesn't really talk that
No,
much.
she doesn't really talk a lot.
And she progressively says more words as it goes on until series 5, where I guess series 4 as well. She just does more like more normal sentences. And
I think the marketing was also a pretty big factor in why it became so big.
yeah,
So obviously we'd never really had a show like this before, and it encompasses a lot of different sort of 80s style books and TV. And yeah, I think because we haven't had this type of thing before, it obviously came in at the right point. I think the marketing really showed that it was the right show for the right time.
yeah. I definitely feel like it definitely hit the good like nostalgia wave, because I guess everything, 80s was either going to be 30 years old, like similar to the 90s is at the moment. So everything in the 80s is getting 30 years old. So there's a lot of nostalgia. And yeah, as you mentioned, as I mentioned, the music was very 80s inspired, sort of the plots, 80s inspired, a lot of the things, there's a lot of 80s products that might not be sold anymore in it. So
I also think that they used music quite well as well. Obviously, the title music was unique and different, and obviously they used a lot of 80s music in a good way. Obviously, I think the main one being "Running Up the Hill."
yes, yeah, I definitely agree. As I mentioned on my the nostalgia, so that was the most streamed song, I think, in series, or at least while series 4 was dropped. I guess while it dropped on Netflix. That would pretty
So where do you think it's going to go next? Obviously, there's hints of spin-offs. Obviously, one I think is going to be set in the 90s in London. I think there's another sort of Hawkins 85 sort of animated
there's an
series
animated
coming.
series I think it's out now.
Is it?
I think it came out about roughly the same time as the last series, or at least the first part. So I think the animated one's set between 2 and 3. I don't really know what the story is. I don't know if any of the actors, because I know it's based on the main characters on that point. So like Dustin, Mike, 11, all those people are in it. I don't know if any of the actors came back to reprise their roles for that, or if they've got sounded like, I'm not sure. But yeah, I guess the biggest one is the 90s London one. Obviously, this is a rumor. It might not happen at all. They might leave it after this, but I definitely think there will probably be some sort of continuation, whether it's in a book.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the high that it had, I think the Duffers Brothers would be amiss to not do something else. But it could just be a mini series or something. But I think they have to do something to sort of continue the wave on a bit. And I think moving on to the 90s with a different sort of setting and characters potentially, and storyline as well, I think could be good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, as you said, it is a rumor, but I think it would be good for them sort of continue the wave on and do something different.
Yeah, but at the same time, is it going to be the same kind of?
I mean, I get something sort of vaguely on the lines, but very, very different, then it could do well. But yeah, I think because they've had this really successful story that's probably panned out over probably 5 seasons, 10 years, I think it would be hard to sort of come up with something really completely different, but obviously still within the realm of Stranger Things.
Maybe. Yeah, I just think obviously the cast is sort of what made Stranger Things as partly as big as it was.
Mm.
And without them now they've sort of well, they've already moved on a bit anyway, but they've completely moved on. You know, it's sort of would it be the same? Are they going to capture the same magic with a new cast, or is it just they should stop it now?
Right, so now it's time to reveal the answers for our trivia questions. So I'll read out the questions again, and then what we can all guess. So the first question was, what was the first feature film to be fully computer animated? And the second, what iconic 80s movie inspired the name of the town Hawkins?
So I guess for the first one, I don't know, because obviously you haven't really said if it's like CGI animation, so that's something like Shrek, or if it's like got green screen. So I'm gonna guess Tron, because I know that was mostly computer animated.
Okay.
And the second one I don't know.
So I'm gonna say the first one was Toy Story.
Okay.
I'm not sure the second one. I think with the second question, I'm not sure if it's. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of Hawkins sort of used as sort of a potential sort of Area 51 type of place. There's a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding, particularly. I don't know. Ready for the answers, Mars?
I am. Let's go.
So, what was the first feature film to be fully animated, computer animated? Toy Story.
Okay.
And what iconic 80s movie inspired the name of the town Hawkins? It wasn't a movie name. It was inspired by the real life Montauk Project conspiracy theories, and the town was named after the Duffers' favorite director's hometown, Steven Spielberg.
So it wasn't based on a movie.
Well, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you so much for listening to Miles Ahead.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at milesahead.pod.
And if you really enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it.
We'll catch you next time.